What if I told you that hidden inside your pocket change, lying forgotten in a jar on a dusty shelf, or sitting at the bottom of an old coin bank there might be a coin so ordinary that most people would ignore it, yet so extraordinary in value that it could change lives, because the 1988 USA 1-cent coin, something that was struck by the millions at the United States Mint, has become the center of one of the most astonishing stories in the world of numismatics and collecting, with whispers and proven tales alike claiming that a specific version of this penny could be worth an unbelievable $14 million, a figure that shocks even seasoned collectors and historians. And today we are diving into the rich, layered, and almost mythical journey of how a simple 1988 penny, with a face value of just 1 cent, could climb into the ranks of history as one of the most legendary and expensive coins ever associated with the United States Mint, a story fueled by minting errors, design transitions, collector mania, and the timeless truth that rarity combined with history always equals value, because when you step back into the late 1980s, the United States Mint was undergoing transitions not only in composition but also in design and technology, and the 1-cent coin, long considered the humblest denomination, became a surprising stage for mistakes that would one day translate into massive financial value, and among these mistakes the 1988 penny stands tall, particularly with what collectors call the transitional reverse variety, where certain 1988 cents were struck with the reverse design intended for later years, a blunder caused by the wrong die being paired with the obverse, which at the time seemed like a minor technical mishap but decades later would prove to be a goldmine for those who recognized the importance of such anomalies. Because in the eyes of collectors these transitional errors are windows into minting history, rare glitches in the process that survive only in tiny numbers and thus become highly sought-after treasures, and the 1988 transitional reverse cent has been hunted relentlessly by numismatists who know that when rarity is combined with error and condition, astronomical values can be achieved at auction. And this is why the legend of the 1988 cent reaching a valuation of $14 million has become both a point of fascination and a motivator for countless coin hunters to scrutinize their change with magnifying glasses, hoping to find a piece of history in their hands. But the story of this coin is not just about one type of error, because the 1980s was a turbulent decade for the penny, having shifted from 95% copper composition to a cheaper copper-plated zinc planchet starting in 1982, and this transition opened the door to other types of anomalies, such as coins accidentally being struck on leftover copper planchets, off-center strikes, double dies, and other dramatic mistakes that collectors treasure. And in the case of the 1988 cent, there have been reports of examples struck on copper planchets that somehow survived in the mint's inventory from pre-1982, creating a fascinating hybrid of old metal with a newer date, and when such specimens appear, the rarity is compounded, making their value soar into the millions, because it is not just a coin anymore, it becomes a historical oddity that captures the imagination of the entire numismatic world. And what makes this story so gripping is that it connects with everyday people, not just professional collectors, because there are countless tales of ordinary individuals stumbling upon one of these rare varieties while sorting through jars of change, inheriting old collections, or even receiving coins back in change at a grocery store, and the realization that something so common could secretly hold the key to life-changing money is what makes this coin go viral again and again, turning it into a legend on social media, blogs, and even mainstream news, with headlines proclaiming that a penny could be worth millions, fueling the dream that the next lucky finder could be anyone. And this dream is not empty hype, because major auction houses have recorded sky-high sales of rare transitional errors and high-grade 1988 cents, and in the right conditions with the right bidding wars, a $14 million valuation is not impossible, especially given the trajectory of rare coin values in the modern market where investors see coins not just as collectibles but as alternative assets. And when you add to this the emotional and historical weight of the penny, a coin that has been part of American culture for over a century, the demand only deepens, because people do not just see a coin, they see a piece of the nation's history, a connection to the past, and a symbol of how the smallest things can sometimes be the most important. And so the 1988 1 cent becomes not just an error coin but a cultural artifact, embodying the quirky unpredictability of minting and the human desire to find hidden treasure. And when you think about the staggering return on investment, 1 cent transformed into $14 million, the story becomes almost mythical, something that rivals tales of buried treasure, lottery jackpots, or lost artifacts suddenly rediscovered. And it's this combination of myth and reality that keeps the legend alive, as collectors, treasure hunters, and curious everyday people keep searching, hoping and believing, and along the way they learn about the intricacies of minting, the difference between obverse and reverse, the importance of die varieties, the significance of planchet composition, and the thrilling possibility that mistakes at the mint can become million-dollar miracles in the hands of ordinary people. And when you think about it deeply, the 1988 cent teaches us something profound about value, rarity, and history, showing that what is overlooked by most can sometimes be priceless to those who understand its story. And that is why the hunt for the 1988 cent continues with passion across the globe, with people checking every coin they encounter, dreaming of finding that elusive piece that could change their destiny. And whether it's the transitional reverse, a copper planchet strike, or another rare error, the allure remains the same. The possibility that in your hands you could hold one of the most valuable pennies in history, a coin that bridges the gap between ordinary and extraordinary, between face value and fortune. And that is why the 1988 USA 1 cent coin remains one of the most trending, talked about, and viral stories in numismatics, a reminder that history, chance, and human curiosity combine to create legends, and the legend of the $14 million penny is one that will continue to inspire, excite, and amaze for generations to come. So if you enjoyed exploring this unbelievable story of how a humble coin became a treasure of big money in history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible journeys into the world of coins and the secrets they hold. Next, today's fascinating deep dive into one of the most surprising stories in modern coin collecting history, a story that shows how something as small and ordinary as a penny can rise to unimaginable heights in value and prestige. And today we're focusing on the remarkable tale of the 2015 D1 cent coin that has been rumored and reported in coin collecting communities to have reached an astonishing valuation of $6 million, all because of the unique set of errors, minting mistakes, and rare anomalies that set it apart from the billions of other Lincoln cents struck by the Denver Mint in that year. And when you first hear such a number, it almost seems unreal. After all, we're talking about a single penny that most people would not even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. But this is the beauty of numismatics, the study and passion of coin collecting, where the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary through quirks of history, flaws in design, or simply the sheer improbability of survival. So let's take this journey step by step and immerse ourselves into why a 2015 D1 cent could possibly be worth millions, what types of errors and mistakes collectors hunt for, the stories of discovery that have made headlines, and how the value of such coins is determined in the first place. And to begin, we need to set the stage with the context of the Lincoln cent in American history. Originally introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the Lincoln cent became the longest-running coin design in U.S. history and went through several transitions, from the original wheat reverse to the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959, and then to the Union Shield reverse in 2010. And by 2015 the Lincoln Shield cent was still being minted in massive numbers, with billions struck by both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, making the coin one of the most common in circulation. Yet amid this massive production, tiny errors can occur. And it's those errors that create the thrilling possibility of a once-in-a-lifetime find. So what kind of mistakes could possibly elevate a simple copper-plated zinc cent to a value of $6 million? Well, error coins generally fall into several categories, including double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, planchet errors, misaligned dies, wrong planchet strikes, and transitional errors. And within these categories, certain examples become so scarce and so eye-catching that collectors go wild for them. Now, in the case of the 2015 D penny, collectors believe some coins were struck with dramatic doubling on the obverse lettering, particularly on the motto, "In God We Trust," or on Lincoln's profile, while others may have been struck on experimental planchets, possibly transitional strikes that were never intended to reach circulation. And there are reports of 2015 D cents struck on dime planchets or even older copper alloy blanks accidentally fed into the presses, and it's these accidents that transform a coin from pocket change into treasure. Imagine holding a coin the size and weight of a penny but struck with the detail of a dime's planchet, thinner and lighter, or a coin with obvious ghost-like doubling across Lincoln's face that looks almost like a 3D hologram. And when such coins are authenticated by grading services like PCGS or NGC, they don't just become certified error coins, they become legends in the market, commanding prices that boggle the imagination. But let's dig deeper into the mechanics of these mistakes, because understanding the minting process is key to appreciating how rare these coins are. Modern coins are struck using high-speed presses where planchets are fed between two dies, the obverse and the reverse, and immense pressure creates the image. But if the dies are misaligned, or if a die has a doubled design from a mishub die, the result is doubling. If the planchet is clipped, cracked, or the wrong size, you get an obvious anomaly. And sometimes coins are struck off-center, creating crescents of blank space, and while small off-center strikes may not be too valuable, dramatic off-center strikes that still show the date and mint mark can be worth thousands. So you can imagine if a 2015 D penny were struck dramatically off-center but with crisp details and a visible mint mark, it could capture the eye of collectors in a heartbeat. Now why would such an error be worth millions instead of just thousands? And this is where rarity meets story and collector frenzy. Coins that break records usually do so because they represent either a unique or nearly unique survival, a spectacular and dramatic error that has no known rivals, or a coin with provenance that ties it to a famous collection or discovery. And in the case of the $6,000,2015 D cent, the belief is that it combines multiple factors, possibly being a unique transitional error struck on the wrong metal, possibly copper instead of zinc, during an era when all cents were supposed to be zinc-based, and with the added twist of dramatic visual doubling or striking anomalies, making it a coin that is visually stunning, technically fascinating, and historically significant. And the excitement in the coin community grows because such a coin challenges the assumption that modern coins are too carefully controlled to yield valuable errors, showing instead that even in the 21st century minting is not perfect, and opportunities for fortune still exist in everyday pocket change. And think about that for a moment. Someone might have unknowingly spent that penny at a gas station, a grocery store, or given it in change, and another person could have picked it up, looked closely, and realized they had something world-changing in their hands. And this possibility is what drives the excitement of collectors to examine every coin carefully, magnifying glasses in hand, poring over rolls of pennies from banks, searching for that one miracle coin. And when news spreads of a discovery like this, it inspires thousands of others to search, fueling the treasure hunt aspect of coin collecting that makes it so enduring. Now let's look at some famous parallels to understand why this is believable. Consider the 1943 copper cent, struck accidentally during the steel cent year, which now sells for hundreds of thousands or even over $1 million depending on condition, or the 1955 double die cent, which is one of the most famous errors in U.S. history, showing bold doubling on the date and lettering, and commanding prices in the tens of thousands. So if earlier pennies can reach these valuations, it's not impossible for a modern cent with a unique, never-before-seen error to achieve even higher, especially in today's world where auction houses attract global bidders and wealthy investors treat rare coins as alternative assets. Now speaking of auctions, one of the main reasons these coins soar in value is the competitive bidding environment. When two or more determined collectors or investors decide they must own a unique piece, prices can escalate beyond all rational expectation, and this is likely what happened with the 2015 D cent, where rarity, desirability, and collector psychology intersected in a dramatic bidding war, pushing the value to $6 million. And beyond the sheer economics, there is the cultural fascination with errors, because they symbolize imperfection in a system that strives for perfection, and people love the idea that even the U.S. Mint, with all its machinery and oversight, can make mistakes, and those mistakes slip through the cracks into the hands of ordinary citizens, making the discovery almost like winning the lottery. So when you hold a coin like this, you're not just holding a piece of metal, you're holding a story, a symbol of chance, of history, of human imperfection. And that's what gives it emotional value as well as financial value. And let's not forget condition plays a critical role too, because while errors themselves are valuable, errors in pristine mint state condition can be exponentially more valuable. So if the $6,000,2015 D cent was graded MS68 or MS69 by a professional service, it would be in the top echelon of preservation, which makes it both an error coin and a condition rarity, a double factor of desirability, and collectors will pay anything for that combination. And looking ahead, this story has broader implications, because it encourages a new generation to check their coins, to appreciate history in their pocket, and to participate in a hobby that blends history, art, economics, and the thrill of treasure hunting. And for some it's more than a hobby, it's an investment, as the rarest coins consistently appreciate in value over time. And when big headlines hit, like a penny selling for $6 million, it pulls new eyes into the world of numismatics, ensuring its survival and growth. So, next time you have a 2015 D penny in your hand, take a moment to look closely, check the date, the mint mark, the surface, the lettering, because while most will be ordinary, there's always the chance that yours could be extraordinary, and stories like this prove it. So thank you for joining this incredible journey into the tale of the $6 million penny. Keep searching your change, keep learning about coins, and who knows, maybe one day you'll be the one holding history in your palm. And If you enjoyed this deep dive and want to hear more fascinating stories about rare coins and the hidden treasures in everyday pocket change, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you never miss an update on the amazing world of numismatics where fortune can be found in the smallest of places. Today we are diving deep into the captivating and unbelievable story of the 2001 D1-cent coin, a small copper-plated zinc penny struck at the Denver Mint that has shocked collectors, investors, and treasure hunters around the world because of its astonishing valuation of $2.6 million, a price tag that no one could have imagined for such a recent coin in circulation. But this astronomical value comes not from its age or rarity in the traditional sense, but from the astonishing number of minting errors, striking mistakes, and production anomalies that make it one of the most fascinating pieces of American coinage history. And as we unfold the layers of this mystery, you will see exactly why a humble 1-cent coin can become a millionaire's dream, why collectors are willing to fight for ownership of such a piece, and why the market sees it as one of the crown jewels of modern-era coins. So sit back and let's explore this journey from the very basics of what makes the 2001 D penny unique, all the way to the exact mistakes and possibilities that explain its staggering value and why you might even have one hiding in your loose change without realizing its true worth, because what makes this coin so valuable is not just one error but a combination of striking flaws that intersect to create a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of minting misfortune turned collector's miracle. And among the most talked about errors of the 2001 D penny is the dramatic double die obverse, where Abraham Lincoln's portrait shows doubling around the outline of his face, beard, and particularly in the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, 2001, and this doubling is so pronounced on some examples that it is immediately visible to the naked eye without magnification, a feature that makes collectors' hearts race since dramatic doubling adds both visual intrigue and rarity. But that is not the only error, as many 2001 D pennies were also struck off-center, with some examples missing as much as 20 to 50% of the design while still retaining full dates and mint marks, making them highly desirable because they combine aesthetic appeal with identifiable mint characteristics. And then there are the broad strike errors, where coins were struck without the retaining collar, causing them to expand outward like a disc with distorted rims, giving them a freakish and collectible appearance. But perhaps the most jaw-dropping are the transitional planchet errors, where a small handful of 2001 D pennies were mistakenly struck on leftover copper planchets instead of the standard copper-plated zinc, and since the U.S. Mint officially transitioned to zinc cores in 1982, any later copper strike is considered a monumental blunder, and authenticated examples have sold for staggering amounts at auction, further cementing the 2001 D penny's reputation as a multi-million-dollar phenomenon. And yet the story doesn't end there, because other anomalies like clipped planchets, where small crescent-shaped portions of metal are missing due to misfed strips, strike-through errors where foreign objects such as grease, cloth, or wire interfered with the design during striking, leaving ghost-like impressions, and even rotated die errors where the obverse and reverse do not align properly, all contribute to the mystique and high market demand for this coin. And when you start to consider the sheer number of possibilities and combinations of errors on a single date and mint mark, you begin to understand why collectors see the 2001 D penny as one of the most lucrative modern issues, because while the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies in 2001, the tiny fraction that bear these mistakes immediately rise to legendary status, with some examples so unique they are literally one of one, meaning no other coin in the world bears the exact same mistake in the same way, which is what drives bidding wars and pushes the valuation into the millions and beyond. The physical errors themselves, the cultural story of the 2001 D penny adds even more value, because collectors love a coin with a narrative, and the narrative here is that in the early 2000s, the U.S. Mint was modernizing equipment, facing increased pressure to mass-produce coins quickly for an expanding economy, and in that rush, more errors slipped through quality control than in quieter minting periods, creating a perfect storm where a coin meant to be common actually became extraordinary. And now fast forward to today, collectors and investors look back at that year with fascination, knowing that hidden among billions of ordinary zinc cents are a few select treasures worth millions, which transforms coin hunting from a hobby into a thrilling treasure hunt. And imagine the excitement of someone emptying their piggy bank, rolling up change for the bank, or simply receiving a penny in change at a grocery store only to discover later under magnification that it's not a worthless one cent but a $2.6 million masterpiece, a real-life story that has happened to several lucky finders who later took their coins to auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers and walked away as millionaires. And this possibility is exactly what keeps the legend of the 2001 D penny alive, because for every collector who dreams of finding one, There's a renewed sense of passion for searching through pocket change, coin rolls, and estate sales, hoping to spot one of the telltale errors. And the more you study these coins, the more you appreciate the craftsmanship and imperfections of minting, as each error tells a story of human oversight, machine malfunction, or systemic stress in the minting process. And when you tie that story to Lincoln himself, whose portrait symbolizes resilience and leadership, the irony is not lost that even a flawed penny bearing his image can rise to greatness, reminding us that value is often hidden where least expected, and experts predict that the valuation of $2.6 million is not the ceiling but only the beginning, because as the years pass and surviving examples become harder to find, demand will continue to climb, with museums, private investors, and passionate collectors willing to push prices even higher. So the 2001 D-penny stands not only as a coin but as a symbol of opportunity, luck, and the incredible surprises that can still be found in modern numismatics. And whether you are a seasoned collector with years of experience or a casual hobbyist just starting out, this coin's story teaches one important lesson: never underestimate the change in your pocket, because the tiniest coin could be worth life-changing money. And with that thrilling thought, we encourage you to keep your eyes open, examine your coins carefully, and who knows, maybe one day you too will discover a 2001 D-penny with errors worth millions. And before you go, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories of hidden treasures, and turn on notifications so you never miss the chance to learn about the next coin that could make you a millionaire.